Council meeting of August 8, 2024 to order at 7 p.m. Please rise and recite the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now call the roll call. Mrs. Conley.
I am here.
Mr. Gross.
Here.
Mr. Marvel.
Here.
Mr. Maxim.
Here.
Ms. Powell.
Here.
Ms. Craig.
Here.
And Ms. Atchison is here. Any more, huh? We're moving on to public comment. The council welcomes. Oh. Ladies. The council welcomes and encourages the public to speak during the public comment and public hearing portions of the agenda. However, council policy is to hear the public comment, not to act on the public comment at this time. Concerns brought before the council during the public comment portion of the agenda will be referred to the city manager for action. If after communicating with the city manager, no resolution is reached, the concern will be elevated to the mayor and then eventually to the council for action. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda and non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during the council meeting that citizens are allowed to address the council. Please state your name and address for the record if you would like. And we have Ms. Falcon that is going to inform us on some important information.
Thank you.
I would like to read a letter to the residents of the city of Cedar Springs. The purpose of this communication is to inform you about a lawsuit filed against the city of Cedar Springs. In October of 2023, certain residents residing in Algoma Township sued the city, alleging that the city has contaminated their water wells with chemicals commonly known as PFAS. The city vigorously denies liability and objects to the plaintiffs' claims, including many false factual allegations made by the plaintiffs. The city collects wastewater from residents and businesses within the city and processes that wastewater through the city's wastewater treatment plant. Pursuant to a permit issued to the city by the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes and Energy, EGLE, the city discharges wastewater from the wastewater treatment plant to a discharge site located in Algoma Township. The lawsuit alleges that the city has discharged wastewater containing PFAS to the discharge site and that PFAS allegedly migrated from the discharge site into the plaintiff's residential wells, diminishing their property values. The lawsuit does not allege any personal injury or health-based claims. The lawsuit is filed in the Kent County Circuit Court. The plaintiffs have structured the lawsuit as a class action on behalf of themselves and potentially other property owners who own property located outside of the city and within the following geographical boundaries: north of 14 Mile, south of Indian Lakes Road, east of US 131, and west of Northland Drive. While the lawsuit was filed in October 2023, the court just recently certified the case as a class action, with a notice to be sent to the property owners located within this geographical boundary. Very shortly, plaintiff's legal counsel intends to send a notice to potential class members, informing them of the opportunity to participate in the lawsuit. Participation in the class does not necessarily entitle any party to relief or recovery in the lawsuit. The city has been rigorously defending the lawsuit and will continue to mount a rigorous defense. Thank you.
Any other members of the public that would like to make a public comment? Anybody on Zoom?
On Zoom that would like to make public comment, now would be the time to raise your hand or unmute yourself.
Additional public comment, we will move on to the adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll support that motion.
Those in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Excuse me. All those opposed, nay. Agenda passes. We have no public hearings. I'm sorry, we already passed that. We don't have any. Let's move on to the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Passes. Yeah, let's do a roll call vote on that, sorry. Yeah, there's money involved in that one. Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Marvel,
Yes.
Mr. Maxon,
Yes.
Miss Powell,
Yes.
Mrs. Race.
Yes.
Miss Atchison votes yes. 7-0. Passes.
Good job, Madam Mayor.
Thanks. Okay, let's move on to action items. And, let's action item A. Mrs. Falcon, would you like to begin the discussion, please?
The council meeting last month, we sent out a survey. And you have the results there in front of you. 0.4% voted for Heritage Park, 30.4% voted for Gerald M. and Amy J. Hall Park, and 32.2% Cedar Springs Community Park. So if you
Like a three-way tie.
so high vote would be Heritage Park if you would.
So we can have a discussion?
I'd like to have a motion to name the new park, Heritage Park.
I can support that motion.
Okay, any discussion?
It was the majority of the folks that voted for it, and I think we should honor that.
And a second to name the Pocket Park Heritage Park. Have a roll call vote. Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Marvel,
Yes.
Mr. Maxim,
Yes.
Miss Powell,
Yes.
Mrs. Race,
Yes.
Miss Atchison votes yes. Motion passes 7-0.
I can work on a design of a sign, bring it back to you.
Sound good, guys? Okay. Moving on to action item 7B, motion to pay off Kent County drain assessment on the two parcels from Sand Lake Land Company in the amount of $27,597.58. Mrs. Falcon, would you like to begin the discussion?
Property that there's a lot that we purchased and a lot that was donated to the city. That whole area had a Kent County drain assessment on it. Surprised this didn't get caught in the title search. It wasn't listed as an outstanding item in the title search. It wasn't part of the agreement. So Kent County Drain Commission folks reached out and since drain assessments like this have to stay with the parcel, the city doesn't pay taxes on these two parcels. So there's basically no tax bill. So just to be clean on these two parcels for the city, it's best just if we could pay them off with Kent County.
Can I get a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to pay off the Kent County drain assessment on the two parcels from Sand Lake Land Company in an amount not to exceed $27,597.58.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Everybody understands what we're doing? Okay, there's been a motion and a second to pay off Kent County drain assessment on the two parcels from Sand Lake County, Sand Lake Land Company in the amount of $27,597.58. Mrs. Conley,
Yes. Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Mr. Marvel,
Yes.
Mr. Maxim,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mrs. Race.
Yes.
Ms. Atchison votes yes. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to action item 7C. Motion to terminate Imperial Municipal Services contract effective to be determined. Begin the discussion.
So, in 2016, the city secured a contract with Imperial Municipal Services for building inspections and rental inspections. Have worked with them since 2016. A couple years ago, the company principal changed hands. And since the time I've been manager, in my opinion, I've received too many complaints on the principal, and he does the building inspecting. There's other officials that do the rental inspections, mechanical inspections, the other inspections, but the main piece is the building inspecting. And I went and met with the owner and told him my concerns. I've had several meetings with him over the last year regarding complaints, and nothing has changed. It hasn't gotten better. So I called in another company and got a demonstration. There's only 2 companies in West Michigan that provide this service, PCI and IMS. And the presentation from PCI, my staff and I were just so impressed. They're all digital, cloud-based information. The information is actually exported from their software, imported into our assessing database. No more data entry from our assessor. We were very impressed, and this company doesn't seem to want to go to that. Everything they give us is stacks of papers, and then we have to manually data entry that into our systems. That's just inefficient. But I mean, the complaints alone, we need to move on. My recommendation is to terminate our contract with IMS.
Can I get a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll make the motion to terminate the contract and the motion as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'm really glad we're moving on to a different company. I've had some, like you said, many complaints of just the things that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I was gonna piggyback on that. Rose and I have both like fielded an awful lot of those that we have tried to go in and read over that were just impossible.
Agree.
I've dealt with them personally on multiple occasions, and I've had good experiences and I've had bad experiences, and I agree when it kind of changed hands that, yeah, things have just not been consistent in my opinion. So with PCI though, I have a question. Their office is located down in Door, right?
Their head office, yes, they are, or maybe have already opened an office on M44 in Township.
Harvard Drive is that?
20 minutes?
So it's not too much farther than IMS is down the road, so it's okay. That is one thing that's convenient with IMS is they're just down the road in Rockford there, so.
More about PCI in a minute.
Motion and a second to terminate Imperial Municipal Services contract. Effective to be determined. Let's take a vote on that. Mrs. Conley,
Do we need a date?
I have to figure that out.
If the motion needed a date, I would amend my motion to add the date.
Yes. Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Mr. Marvel?
Yes.
Mr. Maxim?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Mrs. Race?
Yes.
Ms. Atchison votes yes, passes 7-0. Moving on to action item 7D, motion to approve PCI Construction Code Administrative Contract as presented and authorize city manager to sign the contract.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve PCI Construction Code Administrative Contract as presented and authorize the city manager to sign the contract.
I'll second that.
Is there anything you want to add?
Want to say a little bit more about PCI. So just recently, they are now the building contractor company for the village of Sparta, Algoma Township, Kent City, and Oakfield Township, all on the northern side of Kent County. So having a new office in the northern part of Kent County is the reason all this business up here, they need an office up here. So we'll have staff dedicated to our, northern Kent County. I already mentioned they utilize BSNA modules. We'll be able to import the data. All their inspectors carry iPads. No more handwritten pieces of paper when inspections are done. PCI has instituted text for inspections. So they're the first in the state of Michigan to allow this, that you can text, "I'm ready for my inspection at this address." Apparently before this summer, that was not allowed. What else? All of the vehicles are marked, clearly marked, and their clothing is identified, that who they are. Just everything they presented to my staff and I, we were really impressed with the updated technology that they use and much more efficient. So.
Wearing a name tag is a wonderful upgrade.
Question. Cost comparative?
I think the piece, which is the next one, is cheaper than than landlords are currently paying. The building inspection piece, we had a 90-10 contract with IMS. We have a 90-10 contract with PCI. So 10% of the revenue they bring in will come to us. They'll keep 90%.
Thank you.
More discussion? Okay, there has been a motion and a second to approve PCI Construction Code Administrative Contract as presented and authorize city manager to sign the contract.
Yeah.
Mr. Grove.
Yes.
Mr. Marvel.
Yes.
Mr. Maxon.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Ms. Atchison votes yes, passes 7-0. Moving on to action item 7E, motion to approve PCI rental inspection contract as presented and authorize city manager to sign the contract.
So the rental inspection is a separate arm, basically, of PCI. Some communities don't have rental inspections, so they just do the building piece. But we want them to do the rental inspections as well. So we will share our database with them of all the registered rentals. When the cutoff happens, then they'll take off from there, begin and notify the landlords and work through that process.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve PCI rental inspection contract as presented and authorize the city manager to sign the contract.
I'll support that motion.
Hey, any discussion? There has been a motion and a second to approve PCI rental inspection contract as presented and authorize city manager to sign the contract. Mrs. Race.
Yes.
Ms. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Maxon.
Yes.
Mr. Marvel.
Yes.
Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Mrs. Conlon.
Yes.
Ms. Atchison votes yes. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to action item 7F, motion to approve the purchase of proprietary security cameras for city-owned property, an amount not to exceed $50,000, and to authorize the city manager to sign any necessary contracts. Mrs. Stoll.
Staff and I went to Cannon Township and viewed, they have, these exact cameras that we're talking about, installed and set up. Very impressed. Actually, Sergeant Probst went down to Cannon Township and saw the demonstration first, and then staff and I, followed. Next to your computers tonight was a revised, spreadsheet. I think the one in your packet maybe was just over 50,000. This first round, I think 50,000 is enough to spend to install the cameras that we're proposing. First and foremost, I want the heart of Cedar Springs, the amphitheater. We need 2 cameras there. It'll get all 4 sides of the building. Again, last night we had, vandalism at the amphitheater. Our amphitheater is getting vandalized. It's just ridiculous. And, if we have video footage, then we can go to court and prosecute these people and have them pay to get this stuff fixed. We've fixed it just way too many times. The outside of the fire station, for their wastewater treatment plant, one on the gate to see who's coming and going there. Morley Park, one on the restroom, one on the pavilion. So kind of showing both angles there. And then 2 outside of City Hall. Won't get all 4 sides of the building, but with the Legion being right there, the one at City Hall, we do need one that has, longer storage, at minimum 30-day storage, to be, shining on our voter box where the ballots can be, dropped off. Easy access for staff. So any one of these cameras, like the people at the fire station will have the footage for their cameras. Somebody at City Hall won't have to monitor that. They can have their own monitoring. DPW will be monitoring some of these. Staff at City Hall will be monitoring some. We can set up different levels, who sees the footage, and just real impressed on what these cameras can do. So unfortunately, this is what we've come to. We have to protect our property. We have to protect our investments that we've made, and make the people pay who's destroying it.
Can I get a motion?
Madam Mayor, I will take a motion to approve the purchase of proprietary security cameras for the city-owned property in an amount not to exceed $50,000, and authorize the city manager to sign any necessary contracts.
I will second that motion.
All right, let's take any discussion? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
I have a question. Actually a statement. I'm really surprised that we spent so much money on a fire station and we didn't put any cameras up. I don't understand that. But I was thinking about the new Heritage Park. And, anytime we have something nice and new, that's where it's targeted for. So the only thing, I kind of just brought that up as another option to add another camera. But then I thought Loom has a lot of cameras too out there. So I don't know if they have anything facing out towards the front of their building or not, because they're right across the street. So just maybe want to take a look at that.
The fire station might be shining that way too. Maybe we'll have to work on the angles when we set them up. Yeah, perfect.
I agree with Counselor Race that if they don't, we should spend another, whatever we need to spend to.
The bathrooms are there, like this beautiful new
Just to
bathroom.
make it-
just
I mean,
to
This is just, it's just
prepare
ridiculous.
now instead of after the fact, like the fire station. Like, let's just do it right the first time.
Going, and then while they're here installing, we'll have them stop by the new park and see what they recommend for that. I can bring that back next month or whenever we have it. And get, tack that on.
Aging area get hit very often. I know that bathroom used to all the time.
Not that I've heard. It's the amphitheater.
I also think that there's a lot of kids right now that are bored out of their mind and they're going back to school in like 12 days or less, right?
Yeah, I don't,
So
yeah.
I'm thinking that might be
I
it
think
too.
Cedar goes back to 21st.
First.
Yeah, I go back to 15. So.
I think school doesn't start till the ninth.
Are these motion activated or are they continual?
For Cedar.
Yes,
That's what I was.
but it's 30 days of retention. We need to be able to go back to view, you know, if we get here on Monday and something happened Friday night, we need to be able to go back to see that footage.
I just didn't know how they were activated, if they're continual recording or if they were motion activated.
I don't think they're motion activated now. I mean, just like my doorbell is motion
might say
activated, so it just doesn't.
Huh. Oh, um. Amber's on Zoom. Amber, can you answer that question?
Good afternoon. I was trying, or evening, I guess it is. I'm in the middle of moving, so I hope you guys can hear me well because I dialed in remotely. The cameras themselves can be set up for motion recording. Typically on exterior environments, obviously we see a lot more movement just to do with the weather patterns, tree leaves and stuff like that. But we are set up for 30 days retention. So we will work with the city when we go to deploy these cameras and set up the necessary configurations to ensure that we're getting maximum recording efficiency out of your guys' new system.
It's not a budgeted item though, right?
I am bringing it specifically. I've been working on, I started with another vendor months ago. They ghosted us. Changed to this vendor and it's just taken us time to, you know, go to all these locations, you know, see what would work best there. There's so many different cameras, one camera with 4 lenses in it and
The general fund or,
most of it would be general fund. Wastewater treatment plant could be the sewer fund. The rest is general fund.
so it's a 3-year license per camera, so every 3 years we're gonna be.
But in 3 years, we could do a 5-year license, which is, it would be a better deal. But we just thought, let's get 3, you know, see how the next 3 years go. And then it's just the camera renewal.
And then one thing I want to point out for you all too is that as long as you're up to date on your camera renewal, if that camera goes down at any point, we can automatically get you, like you'll be able to reach out directly to either Night Watch or Verkada and request replacement cameras. So, and that's as long as we keep your services activated. So the first initial run, yes, we did go with a 3-year plan.
What's the cost look like after 3 years, you know, to renew the license?
Hmm.
Cameras around City Hall, don't we? Front and
They don't hold very long.
Not near as good quality cameras internal City Hall. That's why I'm only proposing 2 external ones at this time for City Hall. Yeah, I thought,
Very important to me,
Yeah.
especially now with the extended voting.
in front of me.
Quite a bit of time that people can be dropping ballots in that ballot box. And that needs to be secure.
Want me to touch on that all, Darla? It funded new Dropbox for the back. We have not been able to put it out because we cannot meet the requirements currently with the system that we have. It only retains the data and information for 7 days. The state requires us to have 30 days minimum retention on that. So we have a brand new box ready to be installed. DPW is ready to put it in. As soon as these are up, we can put that new box out.
Be in before the November election.
Determine that, I think, with the company to see when we could get installed. and whatnot.
In before the November election.
August.
Oh, there she is.
Okay. Yes, I believe that we can have them installed before the November election.
Okay, do we, What is the first day of early in-person voting for the November election?
Recording of that box actually starts well prior to that date. Have that date memorized, so I would have to get back to you guys on that. But yes, I believe it's 75 days prior. So currently with the box that we have, we're grandfathered in. It's not required to be under video surveillance for 30 days. So what we have currently is exceeding what we are required to have with what we have. However, that requirement will change and we will have to come into compliance.
A lot of folks use that during this last, yeah. Okay. Like about how many votes did you get dropped off in that approximately?
Got 234, I believe, absentees back. I would guesstimate that at least half of them have come back to the Dropbox.
I guess the big thing is if there was one and we have it out there, we still have to have it. The numbers
Have it, but
balance out somewhere along the line.
that's a service that people are using. And I guess the answer is yes. So
We make sure that we're hearing each other talk, finish our statements before we talk. So we're not talking over each other and the public can hear us. Is there anything else, Jerry?
That's it.
nope, that was
Okay.
but you will get back to us on what is that time frame?
I absolutely will. If you could provide me that date that we need to have the camera up to watch that election box.
Anything else? Any more discussion on the cameras? The motion and a second to approve the purchase of proprietary security cameras for city-owned property in an amount not to exceed $50,000 and to authorize the city manager to sign any necessary contracts. Ms. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Marvel,
Yes.
Mr. Maxon,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Atchison votes yes. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to action item 7G, motion to terminate contract with Infrastructure Alternatives Inc. based on Article 5 termination with a 90-day notice effective November 6, 2024. Mrs. Falcon.
So I'm sure maybe you all know the history of the wastewater treatment facility. It was built around 1995, and at that time, the city hired 2 operators to run the plant, Perry and Rich. And in 1999, one of the operators retired. So that's when the city contracted operations with Infrastructure Alternatives. We've been with them since 1999 with 2 main operators that have ran our plant. Those 2 operators no longer work for Infrastructure Alternatives. I have spoken with a couple neighboring communities who have recently terminated their contracts with Infrastructure Alternatives. It's very unfortunate. I think staff and I have discussed operations with Infrastructure Alternatives quite a bit lately. And we just feel that principals there are making decisions that are making their employees leave. They've had many, many employees leave the company. And we currently have an employee on staff that is fully licensed who can run our wastewater treatment facility currently. So we looked at the contract. If we give them notice tonight, effective 90 days, the plant will be back we will staff the plant. So in the next 90 days, we've already worked out job descriptions for operators that would work there, a pay scale. I can bring them to you as soon as next month, get them approved. Promote the employee within that's already licensed to run the plant. We would hire the second one out because we don't have 2 people currently in-house. So we would hire the second one. They have to be certain licenses already in possession to run the plant. And then what I would like to do is create like a utility department. So those 2 people would not only run the wastewater treatment plant, They would also take over some of what Public Works employees do now, and it's the water side, the wells that we have to maintain. So they would be doing that work. So there would be 2 full-time employees running a utility department that would lighten the load on our current Public Works staff, but would be sufficient for the workload. So. Questions?
Can I get a motion before we discuss?
Do you want the motion?
Yeah, before we discuss, yeah.
I'll make a
Yep.
motion to terminate the contract with Infrastructure Alternatives Incorporated based on Article 5, termination with a 90-day notice effective November 6th, 2024.
I will second that.
Any discussion?
Questions?
I have a question. We have a person on staff. I'm assuming that person is part of our DPW department. So if they're gonna shift, and by the way, I think this is wonderful, but if they're going to shift over into this utilities piece, we're now short a DPW person. Right?
A little bit, but some of the work that DPW does is going with that, those 2 full-time employees.
I'm not saying that's bad, but do we probably also need to hire then a DPW person?
I haven't worked out all the details yet, but
Like, we should do that. Just, you would have, I don't want to speak for all of council, but my support in making that happen if.
With the pool of licensed wastewater treatment operators, are we confident that we can find one within the 90 days that we would need? Yes.
several resumes come in for it.
And to just be clear, the people that who've served us for decades are no longer working for this company. So they, in theory, could be, they could apply.
Several others that have left Infrastructure Alternatives.
It seems like a huge responsibility for 2 people to be responsible for the wastewater treatment plant. Vacations and illnesses and so forth. So would that mean we would need a 3rd person as a backup or split shift or?
I mean, we try our best to cross train. I mean, those 2 people would know water and sewer. I mean, we try to utilize our people to the best of the ability. I don't think 3 full-time for the utility would be a wise use of the funds. If we expand though, you never know. I mean, the more we develop, the more we expand, you know, to Solon Township, we'll always have to.
Well, with the company, we had 2, but they were, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But now that we're gonna do the water side, 2 full-time water, the utility.
I'm very sad to lose Gary. Very, very sad. Hopefully he'll find his way back.
There could be an application, maybe? Oh,
It's up to him.
he knows that it's an option though, right?
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay.
It's come time. Okay. We are growing. And we require something that the company was not giving us, but the employees out there were.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason it was, they saw fit to chase them out. Didn't hurt the company, it's hurt us. And, we just need to take care of us.
Agreed.
Mhm. Okay, there's been a motion and a second to terminate contract with Infrastructure Alternatives based on Article 5, termination with a 90-day notice effective November 6, 2024. Mrs. Rice,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Marvel,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mrs. Conley.
Yes.
Miss Atchison votes yes. So 7-0, the motion passes. Moving on to action item 7H, motion to approve Dean's Landscaping and Excavating as low bid for the Ash Street and Second Street parking lot project in an amount not to exceed 537,400 or whatever. Yeah, $1,437.50 and allow city manager to execute agreement for these projects.
Ash Street was on our capital outlay list to do this year, for this fiscal year. That's gonna, 2 blocks, redoing water, sewer, putting a new paved surface down. So I wanted that Second Street parking lot paved at the same time. We just paired the 2 projects together, hoping that we would get good prices. And 2 contractors submitted bids on the whole thing. The other bid, McCurk Sand and Gravel, 643,000. Dean's Landscaping was low bid. So in talking, just a verbal phone call with Dean's Landscaping, after your approval tonight for them to get the contract, they do plan to put in that Second Street parking lot before Red Flannel.
Wonderful.
To make that happen. So that is fabulous. Yes, so happy about that.
Madam Mayor, I will make a motion to approve Dean's Landscaping and Excavating as low bid for the Ash Street and Second Street parking lot project in an amount not to exceed $537,437.50 and allow city manager to execute agreements for these projects.
I'll support that motion.
All right, roll call. Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
I'm sorry, is there any discussion on this? Sorry about that. Go ahead.
I didn't know if CBDT was gonna throw any money in on this, other than they got the property for us. That was a wonderful thing.
I haven't asked for their contribution on this. The DDA is pitching in money for this parking lot. And CBDT's focus is where the old fire station used to be. That's their next project. So,
Just to thank them for the property and just the place and the ability to build a parking lot there is a great benefit.
Agreed.
Yep.
There's been a motion and a second to approve Dean's Landscaping and Excavating as low bid for the Ash Street and Second Street parking lot project in an amount not to exceed $537,437.50 and allow city manager to execute agreement for these projects. Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Grohl,
Yes.
Mr. Marvel,
Yes.
Mr. Maxon,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Ms. Gray.
Yes.
Ms. Atchison votes yes, motion passes 7-0. Okay, moving on to discussion item 8A, short-term rentals, general. Ms. Falcon.
so short-term rentals, according to our zoning code, are not permitted at this time. And the planning commission was approached by a couple of landlords in town requesting them to consider what would it take to allow short-term rentals. So our city planner drafted these 2 ordinance amendments. There's a public hearing at the planning commission meeting. So this is first reading here. It'll come back to you in September. If there's whatever planning commission decides to do at their meeting Tuesday night, you'll see that final version at your next council meeting. But if allowed, it would be allowed by right in the R2 and B2 zoning districts in the city. We're only gonna allow 5 to begin with. So 5 short-term rentals. The facilities would have to be inspected, registered, kind of like their rental property is registered now. These would have to be registered annually and inspected. They would have to, go by all the rules for short-term rentals. If any of the rental properties have 3 violations in a single year, they will not be allowed to be on the short-term rental list anymore.
Aren't they already doing it?
Yes.
There are some in the city on
Like,
um,
there's a,
Airbnb.
I mean, they have a sign out.
Okay. Right now. So,
Advertising online.
Yeah, they have a sign outside their place.
Oh.
Like,
then once this is approved, that they have to register.
I don't know, I have some feelings about that.
Well, I definitely, well, yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know, I have to go, I'll ask my favorite planning commissioner. I haven't told him, I saw the sign when we were having your festivities the other day. And it's over by there's, yeah.
Can we make a motion before we just, well, we don't have to make a motion. This is discussion. Okay, so, we're discussing it now and trying to zone for it now. So I wouldn't want to make a big deal out of the ones that already have, you know, that's kind of like starting a fire that we don't need to start yet. So, you know, working on this, we're already working on it. So that's my opinion. Yes, they shouldn't be doing it because it's not allowed, but we're working on the fact to get it, be able to have it. So hopefully, I mean, but we're only gonna allow 5, so they better hurry up and get registered once we do allow it, you know, if that's what it's gonna be. So,
I guess my question is, as much as I love this town, short-term rentals are most often associated with, resort towns, vacation spots, things like that, which is, like I say, as much as I love this town, Cedar's not. I'm just wondering, what need is being met by allowing short-term rentals in Cedar Springs and, I mean, we've obviously have made provisions for regulating it. But is the need that is being met, gonna bring us more positives than the possible negative, that short-term rentals could bring?
The one landlord explained at one of the planning commission meetings, when they travel a lot, they have rentals and they would like to offer one or several of their existing rental properties in Cedar Springs as a short-term rental. When they travel, they look for short-term rentals like this, Airbnbs, instead of staying in hotels. So they just thought that's what they look for when they travel. Why not offer that here to people that travel? The landlord is really losing it, because if they can secure a year-round rental, that's 12 months guaranteed rent. This is a weekend, a week, 2 weeks, you know. Get it rented, maybe they won't. I mean, the risk is kind of on the landlords if they want to register and market their property as a short-term rental and not have that guaranteed 12-month.
I would argue that the risk is also with the neighbors in the neighborhood that may be dealing with, everything that you can imagine that comes with short-term rental. Not that they're bad necessarily, but, you can see where, short-term rentals, there's a certain, people who use them that may not be as committed to the community as long-term rentals.
I have some similar concerns and like this particular one, they don't live here. I mean, they live in another town and they bought this house and so they're taking house off of a market where we have a housing shortage for a person who could live here. So that they can, I don't know, rent it out on weekends for people to, I don't know, have a party or stay on vacation we're not, there's no ocean view. So I'm like you, a little concerned. And if that were next door to me, I would not love it. I mean, just saying, like, I would not love it. And I don't live in a community where I'm on the beach, where I would be expecting that. So I don't know. I'm not super in favor.
I think some people look for, the, places to stay that are a little bit out of town, so like a 20 minutes out of town. If they're going to a big concert in Grand Rapids, 20 minutes to them is not a big deal to go back to stay somewhere, and then they're not staying in town. That's some of the things that I hear of people that are doing short-term rentals when they go away on vacation or whatever. Yeah, we don't have a lot of things here, but hopefully someday we'll, be more of a destination. Other than that, see, I don't know, because I'm not the type that's gonna go to a short-term place and party. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be respectful and do all those things, but that's not everybody. So I can understand the concerns.
And I've rented a VRBO myself, like lots of times in the mountains in North Carolina and hiking and in Florida on a fruit farm. Like, I mean, I can tell, but
For a purpose, like.
and well, and when I've rented them, every time I've rented one, the owner has been within like their next door, or they're a block away, or they're not 25 miles away, which is like this particular person who's already put out a sign is. Like, they're not in this community. They're not so like there's a certain amount of like, why do you care if you piss off the neighbors? It's not your town. There's
3 complaints in a single year, you're done. I mean, there could be people looking for a, small town to come in a week. I mean, they could be looking to retire. Well, let's stay at a VRBO in this community to see what it's all about. I mean, there could be positives as well.
That's one thing I thought about too was, I mean, just the housing market today is so tough on young couples and stuff. I mean, 29 consecutive nights. I mean, if that's a place that they could stay while they're doing a move or something. I mean, I know lots of people that have been stuck in situations like that. That's what my mind went to when I was reading it this week. And of course, there's some legitimate concerns though with Airbnb and renting like that. So, but yeah, that was the first thing that went to my mind is like young couples, and just the housing market today is just so tough, and finding a place to live. So
and we have a hotel. We have a hotel. I'm just trying to like our hotel. How is the tax on this gonna be as opposed to like a hotel that's a business? Is this a business?
The business.
Mr. Gross.
So many things have been said that I've been thinking, okay? I don't know as though there's been a demonstrated need for them in the community. When you're talking about a rental, what is determined to be short-term? Somebody rents a home and they need it for 3 weeks. Is that a short term, or is that a rental for 3 weeks?
This isn't that the
Well, but that's what I'm saying, for 3 weeks, but the big thing is, it's, I don't know if there's been a demonstrated need for any big event here other than Red Flannel Day that would invite people in to come and celebrate here in town. I would love to have more with controls, so, but I'm just not sure. Somebody would have to show me there's a demonstrated need for them in this community. And I'm not sure how they would do it.
what about that big bike race that just took place? I mean,
That's
they-
okay, they got on their bikes and rode them home. So, I mean, it was just.
it wasn't outside the country, though.
For a lot of it. Yeah.
is the hotel booked out? I mean, that would be one
Okay.
way to look at need, right? Is the hotel booked out?
It's cost too, because I know somebody that was looking for,
To stay.
for Red Flannel Weekend and it was really high cost. I was thinking of people that are getting new jobs in the area and they're, sometimes their jobs will put them up in a B and B that for, so many days while they're looking. And they might have requested, don't want to live in town, I want to live out of town, so that could be a thing. But we don't know the reasons why everybody stays in them, but it seems to be the thing now, is to stay. So how long is this gonna go on, and is this gonna be the most place where people are gonna stay? I don't know. I really don't know.
For a year. And then had those 5 places report back to us. Rentals did you have? Maybe the second year, they're gonna say, that wasn't worth it, I'm not gonna do it again. I mean, I don't know.
That's where I'm getting at. Where's it been demonstrated that we need it? I know a lot of people are looking for homes. They aren't looking for someplace for 30 days or whatever. They're looking for a home. I'd like to think that we were a destination. But I know that's not so yet. Okay.
Yeah.
But, we can read what they're doing. I just hate to have them go through a lot of work for somebody who wishes to have something that may or may not be even worth the while of the community.
They've already done it.
Well, they're already out there, and I think we need to get a handle on who and what they're doing and get it under control before it's out of control.
If I may, it is my understanding that the planning commission is not supposed to address anything that they don't feel the board would be interested in doing. Otherwise, they're spending time, money, and everything else creating something that may not be acceptable. It should have come to us first to see if it was something that would be acceptable through the city council. They work under our direction mostly. Okay? And not only their own direction, then come to us and say, hey, listen, we created this, now you're gonna approve it. We're involving attorneys and everything else in something that may or may not fly through the city council. Kind of the cart before the horse type situation, the way I see it.
There's a question on the master plan survey that was mailed out a couple days ago regarding short-term rentals. Maybe that survey will give us more information on whether, what the community thinks of offering short-term rentals or not.
I mean, I do know that there are times where people prefer to have a home to stay in for a time being. And, they advertise it like, you have small children and, if you stay in a hotel, you're going to bed when they go to bed. There's no separation to be able to, and it's not even enjoyment. What if, a family member is sick and they want to be around that, they come and visit and they have a family, they just have their own area, they have their own place, and sometimes they have to stay longer. So I can see both sides for sure, but just kind of throwing that out there too, that.
I totally,
Yeah.
again, my concern is the neighbors.
Yep.
It's the person who lives next door to this who didn't ask they didn't sign up to live next door to a hotel. I mean, if one of my next door neighbors decided that I didn't sign up to live next door to a hotel.
What if we do B2 Central Business District only?
I don't know. I don't have a strong position or even an understanding of like what this particular place is that's decided that, that's the other piece, this idea that we could just do it and put a sign out. And they're already doing it. And like whether or not the neighbors feel okay with it, I just,
I've rented enough Airbnbs and Verbals and in many states. And the neighbors are just there. Like I didn't, that doesn't mean, I'm not a partier, but it's a home and these people know that they're, people come and go. It's just kind of what's out there now. It's, I think 10 years ago, probably it would have been a little weird, but there's so many other reasons for having them now. And it is unfortunate that some people want to rent out instead of, selling a home to someone, but, there's just so many reasons, it's just.
Well, and some people, oh, sorry, Ruth.
Have these discussions.
People, want to bring their own food and make their own meals. And there's been a lot of people that if there's a wedding in a certain area, they'll go stay at a place like this. So there are a lot of pros and cons on both sides. I'm glad we're thinking about it for a while.
I've rented over a dozen
Yeah.
in multiple states, from Florida to North Carolina to.
But did you even think about the neighbors?
I did. And in like most of the cases, actually, the Airbnb like was owned by the neighbor. Like they owned it next
Right,
door.
right.
And so that would be part of the, like, if you need this thing,
Yeah.
like they're there to help you. And I don't know that's, again,
It's something to consider.
it's that whole, like, if they're not even in the community and they own this place, and then, it's the same kind of thing we've had with difficulties with landlords. That they own a house and they divide it into little pieces without even deciding that that would be okay. And they don't live here. Like they live in 3 towns over. And then they come, it doesn't matter if the house is falling down. It doesn't matter if there's an electrical outlet in the shower. It doesn't matter. Right? We did this. And it's just concerning to me. It's not that Airbnbs inherently are bad. I just am concerned that, I don't know, the idea of we're going to just decide that these people can have a business. That's what it is. They're going to have a business next door to people in a residential community. And those people didn't sign up for that.
What else?
Well, it's gonna be a lot of discussion and
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen overnight.
And I'm not saying I would
Figure
absolutely
it
vote
out.
no. I'm just saying I have some serious concerns. And
So
particularly
we all do.
with the way that this entry company person is approaching it, I'm also finding concerning.
Just been made aware of it, it seems like, so. we'll have to
Yeah,
look at it.
I've been having the conversation with planning commission people, and I'm assuming you're getting the same emails with, here's some language that you can use to make your zoning thing. Which, the planning commission chair is like, really?
If I may. It's not so much that it's there. It's thereof, and that's gonna be the important thing.
Yeah.
What stipulations are there and so on and so forth. Hey, if you get a bad customer in there, you gotta get them out right now. Things of that nature. And I don't have a problem with the short-term rental, depending on however you look at it. It's the regulation of, the one that's got the sign up, outside of doing it, something that's not permitted right now, technically. You don't know, but it might be a very good group that would come in there. Not everybody is gonna be a party place. You definitely want to have a bar in there. Pre-set up for somebody to just come in and party and leave. That's not what I would want it set up for, but, so it's the regulation of it is gonna be the important thing.
Absolutely. one of the ads online for a Airbnb was a couch, shared house couch for $200 a night. Now, if that isn't about the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
$200?
To sleep on someone's couch.
Yeah.
Must have been the cheapest thing in the area.
Yeah, really.
Anyway. Where I'm at, it's just all in the regulation.
Right.
And we probably should have discussion before they even got started on it, so they knew what we were thinking, so.
I think planning commission kind of had it dropped on them because this person was like, hey, I'm doing this. I mean, and planning commission was like, whoa, wait a second.
No, you can't because it's not allowed.
They already are.
And request the information from the manager. It's not, okay, let's start making rules and regulations for something that's not permitted now, and then send it to the board and hope they'll accept it. If it's not allowed, it's not allowed, period, right now, okay?
Come
And
on.
that's what I'm saying with the regulation of it. Unfortunately,
And maybe
The
somebody
manager-
should be going to kick them out. You know, I mean, if
That's-
it's
that's
code
what the
enforcement,
regulation's on.
you know?
Got a little bit. They put up a sign.
Well, that's a business sign. We got a sign regulation about that, don't we?
This was some of my like walking by it the other day.
All right, let's move on to discussion item 8B, which is the short-term rentals zoning first reading. Ms. Falcon
Amendment 1, it's,
talked about both. Okay, then let's move on to 8C, community event application, celebration of lights, November 23, 2024, first reading. Mrs. Falcon, can you begin the discussion?
so the Chamber of Commerce would like to have, there's other festivities going on November 23rd, but this is a new thing, celebration of lights. They would like to use our new Pocket Park and Chase Bank parking lot and the Main Street patio, down the road a little bit. Passed it by my staff. We have no issues. Posing is out of line or, Harry's here on behalf of the chamber if you have any specific questions for him, but we thought this was fine.
Sounds fabulous.
Yeah, I think it kind of dovetails nicely with the discussion that we were having about naming the park itself, in order to honor the people that have come before us and have contributed to the city. So, yeah, I think it sounds great.
Who knows, this may make us a destination where we have to have Airbnb, so, okay. but- Yeah, and all of the celebrations, it might be, but
The dropping the ball on New Year's, that went just swimmingly last year.
Well, both the New Year's and Renaissance had way more.
Yeah. Has there been any more discussion of a drone show, light show for New Year's?
Is the idea of coming up with somebody have minimum? For a drone show, you're talking minimum $20,000 just for the drone show, not counting.
But sure.
We looked into it and when we get the feedback that they gave us is a minimum of 100 drones, $200 a drone.
Okay.
More than that, because a minimum of 100 gives you a small amount of graphics that they can do in the air. And so it gets to be, we haven't had anybody come up with wanting to spend $20,000 just on the drone show.
I just remember that conversation at the DDA. Corey? Cody.
Yep.
Sorry, Cody, I got your name wrong.
That submitted an email to the city and you forwarded it over and I'm like, I didn't think anybody was gonna, but then I checked in it just so I had numbers. And that's what they came back with. It was I could probably try and get quotes from somebody else, but that was the one that, yeah.
It was brought up And I thought, oh, that would be cool.
I wouldn't mind having a drone show, because in my mind, if we could get sponsors from the Fort- to sponsor where we could have the drones go back and forth from like Meyer parking lot to downtown. But I'm thinking more of warm months, because in the winter for like a New Year's thing, which they was talking, if there's ice and sleet, that's a good way for them to cancel last minute. And you have, from the ones that we was hearing from last year, I don't know if this company's the same, that you really don't know until that day or the day before if they're gonna cancel. And if you've already got your deposit down and there's no refunds, it's not an avenue I want to do in the winter.
See that? I love the idea of replacing traditional fireworks with drones. Like, it's so much better for the environment and the air and breathing and explosions and.
With lights, they don't involve looking up so much in the air to see them.
Oh, and I think this is wonderful. I'm just saying, I've seen, I have a friend who was living in Australia for a while, and they replaced almost all of their quote unquote fireworks presentations with drone light shows. And like, if you remember the Lions, the Lions, for the Detroit, if anybody saw the drone show that they did for the, what was it? It wasn't the actual Super Bowl. It was the,
So the draft,
well, no, the going up to the Super Bowl. It was the I'm not sporty. Whatever that game was, they did that drone show.
Pam, why don't we have you and Perry meet in person and talk about these light shows? Because we're talking about the celebrations of lights right now for the.
It was me. Doing that for New Year's.
It's totally different
Okay.
than the New Year's. The idea of this, how this came to be, is when Jerry died, Laura Ensley texted me, "Did you hear that that Jerry had passed?" I said, "No, I did not." When? She's like, "Today." And I was like, "Well, when we go to light the trees in November, we should have something to honor him, because when I first got the business owners to sponsor to pay for the trees to get relit, and I brought it before council and DDA for us to put the trees back up, what would it cost us to have DPW to hang the trees?" And he, before we even talked to DPW, he's like, "I'll donate my time. I'll hang the lights."
Ladder.
And for a few years until he couldn't, he did that. He volunteered. And one year he was sicker than a dog and he was still out there hanging them lights. And so I don't know, a month or two went by, then it's like, here's my idea of what we can do for the event, but going forth, it'd be a way to have another event in his honor, but also honor other fallen lights of our community that have lit the way. But we get each different entity of our community to nominate somebody that is no longer with us that have done a lot to make the community what the community is.
That's a wonderful. Yeah.
So like, the idea is to make it an annual event the Saturday before Thanksgiving. We can thank them for giving.
Yeah.
Play on the words, but not the same.
Every year we add some more lights.
They're lights that got us here. So it's, again, play on words, but it's,
It's fabulous, Perry. As always, and you used to sit up here with us. Thank you for everything you do with the community to.
the idea of this is with using the new Heritage Park. Is that what we said, Heritage? To my knowledge, there's a fire pit gonna be there, right?
Yep.
But the chamber currently has 4 brand new fire pits that we got last year from the New Year's thing. And so we can use a couple of them. We've got permission from Chase Bank to use their parking lot. They said it should be fine because they're usually there no later than 3 on a Saturday. So if we close that off so the public can't use it for parking or whatever, drop a couple fire pits. We got the social district. We can raise a glass of cheer, whether it's alcohol or alcohol free. Everybody has their own choice, whether it's hot chocolate, coffee, tea, whatever. Raise a glass in honor of who we're honoring that year, and this year is Jerry. And if we run out of room after we're done with the initial toast or whatever, they can, some people can slide down the in front of Scott's and Cedar Chest and Synergy Dance and use that patio too.
That's good.
Like to approve it tonight, you can, otherwise you'll see it next month for second reading and approval.
And Mayor, would you like a motion? Sure. I will make a motion to approve the community event application for the celebration of lights for November 23rd, 2024. With whatever at the administration of the city manager.
I'll second.
Well, let's vote. Mrs. Race.
Yes.
Miss Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Maxon.
Yes.
Mr. Marvel.
Yes.
Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Mrs. Conley.
Yes.
Ms. Atchison votes yes. So 7-0. And we're gonna move on to communications. Are there any communications we need to know about, Darla? Mrs. Falcon? Right, the community calendar event calendar is listed. I've got some other reports, and then we're gonna move on to department reports. City manager.
So I mentioned a little bit ago, the master plan surveys went out July 31st. They're due back on August 30th, so be sure and fill that out and get it back. If you don't want to pop it in the mail, there's no postage needed. You can put it in one of our drop boxes and we'll get it back to the city planner. We had a progress meeting for the Pocket Park. I'm really excited. That is coming along real well. The restroom walls went up today. The cement through the center's all done. There's still more to do, but it's looking really nice. I'm impressed with it. I'm still working with Deb, our code enforcer, and on some issues at Cedar Springs Mobile Estates. We had a good meeting a week ago with a bunch of people on Zoom, and we're working on issues with there's too many people parking on the streets in there, and if emergency vehicle tried to go down, through some of those streets, they're just not gonna make it. So they need more off-street parking. The roads in there the original plan showed one-way streets. There's not one-way streets. So we're working with them. It's going well, so that's good. I have some pictures to share at the end of the meeting tonight. Teams of Skinner Field, they've done a fabulous job on the field. Not too long ago, they had that blacktop at the entrance of the field all redone. And they had like all the sidewalks, some edging along all the sidewalks. So it looks really nice. They shared some pictures with us. I told them I would share them with you guys. Really excited about the Second Street parking lot to be in before Red Flannel. I think that'll be a good addition down there. And I was notified that the Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund, $50 million grant pocket of money, did not get funded by the legislature. They forgot. So we were promised 300,000. So the Heart of Cedar Springs restroom, playground, parking is on hold now until I find out when are we going to get that funding? Can we go ahead with our 300,000, wait for their 300,000? So that was very sad, but plan is, so that's an update on that. That's all I have.
Department of Public Works, looks like Tanya Baker.
Yep, hello. So we were down at Riggle Park, painted that jungle gym up. So that is finished. Put the flags down on Main Street. Went out to the cemetery. We're string trimming again out there. That's done. We'll probably do it again. I'm gonna say late September, early October, so that way the leaves don't get caught between the headstones. Our daily stuff with the water, sewers, mowing. That's really about it. Killing weeds on the sides of the roads. Other than that, I don't have much.
Town looks really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work.
Thanks.
Fire department.
Well, we are in the middle of our summer. Everything we're going through the music in the parks and going through with the spraying down the kids. We're doing pretty well on most of that. Actually, thankfully, there's been about an 11% decrease on calls from last year.
Oh,
Expecting that, but overall, it's only about 2% different, so, which is good. But from June of last year to now, it's about 11% decrease, which is awesome. Prefer that. Other than that, there's really, our truck is gonna come out for bid on August, probably next week. That'll go out for bid. We hopefully will hear all of our budgets and stuff for that, so we can start planning for that by the end of this month or September. So, other than that, that's, yep, that's the county truck that we pay into the Kent County Fire Commission.
10-year rotation.
I think it's a 15.
15,
It depends on how many members there are, but I think it's 15 right now. So.
we will opt out.
On? I still think about our new truck. I guess I'm just old.
I says, wait a minute, it was 2009. Yeah, it was 2009.
I believe you. Our roof.
Actually, we had a pretty good rain going through. I think all of the repairs are complete. I did not have any new leaks. We had the one that was the last month that's been repaired again. All I'm waiting for is to touch base with them to see if we can get a report like we got from the other places we're going through. Then we can pack that away and be done with it. That's it. If you have any questions,
Who had to pay for that roof repairs?
not paid anything for it.
That's good. And the antique fire truck, how's that going?
Got our last batch of parts, we think, from Carl, as he's going through, thinks we're there. We've already had 2 companies look at it. We're just trying to find a 3rd company to go through, do the quote. We have not gotten any quotes from the other 2 companies yet. So, apparently it's a sizable amount of work. So we'll try to get to that point. That's just not been on my radar in the summer. It's just been really busy. And we'll go from there.
Need some,
Fire you had to put on?
oh, yeah. That was a big one.
It's gonna, is it gonna still be used actually during Red Flannel Day once it gets put back together?
Once we get it put back together, that's something we need to talk about, because it's not really something after we put as much money in it, we're gonna wanna have everybody climbing all over. It can be a parade vehicle, go through that. We get some other options, go down that point, but ultimately it's up to the, city manager and where we're going and how we deal with that as it goes in, so.
If I may make a comment, that was one of my goals when I was chief and on the fire department. Was that it was no longer going to have people riding around on the hood, the fenders and all that stuff hanging off from it. It needs to be treated with the respect that it should have. Like I say, my understanding is that was the first fire truck that ever was purchased by the city. And I wish I could remember where it was at, but I saw a picture of it on a flat car at the railroad depot when it was delivered. I wish I could remember where that was at, so I'd love to have that at the station, so.
I have not been able to find it yet either. So, but there's also some liability issues we have to pay attention on that. It is a bugger to drive. It's no synchros, manual transmission. You have to hit it hard. The springs are really tough on that clutch. So you have to have metal shank boots to drive it, and you will be worn out when you're driving it.
The Model A, I'm a car guy. If you've read my biography, machines are made to be used. I hate to see, and I love to see the history preserved, but I hate to see things in museums when they should be out being used. The Keystone Cops on that fire truck, I mean, that's iconic for Red Flannel Day. When it disappeared and they were riding around on golf carts,
Yeah.
I had family. What happened to the fire truck? What happened to the fire truck? And every single year since then. So maybe we stick away the first one, and maybe we have a fundraiser to replace it with something more reliable and easier to drive, but unique and with character.
You can, there are a lot of kits out there you can get that actually looks like a Model A, but it's actually more on a modern, transmission, more modern. It's no joke. It's rough, and especially with all those crowds on down Main Street and trying to go through, all it takes is just that clutch to die once and engage, and we're going for a ride.
Maybe we could be used to drive the Grand Marshal in the parade, or used to drive the Queen in the parade, or,
Yeah.
We'd actually go through, we have, a few people going through, climbing up, being careful, because you don't want to spend all that money on it and then scratch the heck out of it. And it obviously has to be used. It's not something you want to just put away, because that would be bad just to see it rot away.
I love the idea though of buying one or maybe even two other like kind of facsimiles that are, a golf cart that looks like a Model A that we could put Keystone Cops in. I really love that idea. Like that would be a thing I would love. Like we should spend a little money on that. I would.
Comment on Mr. Maxim's presentation. A large number of the Keystone Cops were firefighters at that time. We had a respect for the truck that some of the people prior who were not firefighters didn't have. And that's why I'm saying it's got to be treated with some respect. There was, Chris was one, I was, Tony Johnson, Roger Schultz. There was a large number of us that were firefighters that were actually operating as Keystone Cops. But, and so it was treated as best as we could with the fire department, other than people hanging all over it. And that was the part where, but abused then.
Now it's a show truck.
You're right. And that's it. It shows off a little bit of class at Cedar Springs. The fact that we've held on to that truck that long. So
Red Flannel Festival is kind of looking for a truck. And they almost got one last year, but it got outbid on them. So if anybody hears or knows of somebody with a fire truck, a close old truck, they're kind of looking for it if they have the money.
Chief, do you have an estimate as to what you're seeing trucks for similar, what you're gonna want?
Nothing at the moment. No, it's time I've gone through and get into that. I'm sure that we'll talk to the companies when they're going through to see if we can get something through them, because they probably would have the best news on stuff like that.
Department somewhere near where they don't. Sure. It's not cheap.
I like how you formatted your report. Simple, very informative.
Time. That's probably back with Marty. Basically, all we did was just change the name, put it up, and we still present the same way.
And that.
Jerry. Yeah, actually, I take that back. I think it was Jerry that started that.
Thank you. City Clerk, Rebecca Johnson.
All right, so we have our election completed in the books. Overall, everything went well. Little things we can improve here and there. I can't thank the staff, the inspectors, the deputy clerk. We all put in a lot of hours to make this happen, so I can't thank those individuals enough. I know Rose and Mike both serve as election inspectors, and I want to thank them as well, but they see the hard work that goes into making an election happen. With that being said, we had an 8% turnout overall. 424 voters total. Of that, 55% of them were absentee voters. 6%, a total of 25 people, came in during the 9 days of early voting. And we had 165 people come in on election day, for a 39% portion of that is in precinct on election day. So you can see that those numbers are pretty widespread. I'd like to see some increased numbers. We did a lot of efforts to put information out on the internet, Facebook. The state also sent out mailers to everyone as well. So the word is out there. We're hoping to see some more utilization in November. Yeah, that's about all I have.
Madam Mayor, can I ask a question? How is the number in comparison to previous primaries?
It's pretty in line. I mean, overall, the county had a 26% turnout, so,
Like what we normally see at a,
and it ebbs and it flows, but it's not high, it's not low, it's somewhere in between. So,
Yeah, just wish that we could get more people out to vote. It's really important. Hopefully we can work on that for November. Finance Director.
Sergeant Probst is on.
Oh,
Zoom if
I'm
you-
sorry, Sergeant Probst. Are you on?
I am on.
Okay, sorry, honey.
It's all right.
Sorry, honey. I love it.
It's all right, dear. No, I just wanted to thank Darla, city manager, for putting the time and research into a video system, a good video system that we can utilize in the parks and the amphitheater. We're having a lot of issues in these areas, and without a witness, like the video camera system can be, we're having a really hard time of catching these kids and adults damaging our area. And it's will really help with the safety of the citizens of Cedar Springs. I'm glad that city council voted to approve the purchase of those cameras. Other than that, we're getting ready for Red Flannel. We're in the planning stages now. We have a meeting on Monday and start that process. That's it. Are you still there?
Yep. Code or not code enforcement. Now I'm totally lost. No, Finance Director, Emily Landon.
Is this on? Okay, there it goes. So yesterday and today we had Doug, Redeveld and his team here working on the city audit. So that's kept me pretty busy. I've had a lot of work ahead of time to prepare for this and just getting files around and documents to him and his team. We also had the audit for NKCE a couple weeks ago, and that is complete and it's in your packet. So that's done. So between those two audits, I've been spending a lot of time on that stuff. You all should have received an email from Darla requesting your participation in a questionnaire for the audit. So just a reminder, if you haven't done that already, to complete that and make sure to get it back to Doug Redeveld. So his email address was in the initial email when Darla sent that out. So if you need that again, let us know. We can send that out. If you can just try to do that as soon as possible, because they did most of the work yesterday and today for the audit. There's still some stuff to finish up and there's going to be a few lingering things. So it's not going to be complete right away, but if you could just try to do that sooner than later, then we would appreciate that. Otherwise, tax collection is going good. Yeah, no issues there. Things are going smoothly.
Okay, council comments. Mrs. Connors.
I would like to just say hooray to our clerk and the folks that made that election happen. That was a big deal to have that amount of time for people to do absentee and in person and to get the staffing to make that happen. And I am so thrilled that people have such a greater access to be able to vote and that you all are making that happen. So hopefully November, those numbers go up.
I would second that, as an inspector, particularly Rebecca and April. There were some glitches here and there with the way that the books were printed and recorded and everything. They handled it with aplomb. Any questions that we had, they were there to answer. So, and they know their stuff. Yeah, I have they have my full confidence. They know what they're doing.
I got a wonderful compliment from you all, from the women, the League of Women Voters, who came up to do the accuracy testing observation. And they commented, I had a person who reached out to me and said, I always choose to go to Cedar Springs because they're so nice and they're so organized and so professional. And I said, yes, that would be my clerk. So I need to pass that on, that I had like a person who was like, oh, you're from Cedar Springs. I come to your, so you just make us look good. Mr. Gross.
I also want to congratulate our clerk and all of the people that she had with the elections. The shame of the whole thing is we still had a lousy turnout over an extended period of time that related into more hours having to be put in by the clerk and these personnel to not get any more satisfactory results. That's a shame. Okay, it's a shame. There's a lot of comments and a lot of things said about the political system and where it's at and all that stuff, but people just do not get involved with it to address the situations that are there. That having been said, I will applaud them, okay? Move on to the other. I think we've had some good discussion tonight. I think there's some serious discussion. There's some real progress with what we are doing and how we are managing things here at the city. And I will credit that all to Darla. There's things that are just being stepped up on and being moved along with, and I appreciate it greatly, so. Thank you for the participation tonight. It just went well, I think, so, thank you.
Mr. Marvel.
Yeah, good meeting and I'm excited to be partnering up with some new people with PCI and I'm super excited about the utility department that we'll have and having our own people. I think that'll be a huge benefit. I mean, like this week I was just driving by and I noticed a DPW worker that was doing some project over there by CTA, but I noticed like he was picking up trash alongside the road too. Just taking good pride in his work, and that's what make stuff like that is what makes this town great. So I have a high level of respect for our DPW and what you guys do, and yeah, and I'm as far as the election, yeah, that's super low voter turnout, and but you guys have done your part. You know, we've got the word out there, so and that's just more for the public. You know, I wish the public would step up and vote. So, but yeah, great meeting and all this down. So,
Ms. Powell.
Well, I sure had a wonderful Rose Powell Day, I'll tell you that much. What honor and surprise. All boiled down to and why I've done the things I've done, not partly because I really enjoyed it. MML, I'm the first MML class I went to, the speaker said, you get to every meeting you can go to. These are your people. You need to get to know these people. You need to yourself to these people and join that community. No matter whether you know them or not, you make a lot of friends and they'll respect why you're there. So I've done that. I followed that instruction. I thought it was great. I really expanded my entire view, my entire soul and heart went into a lot of different things. So when you go to MML classes, you're obliged to learn more all the time, learn more about your community and your people and the activities. I didn't get to everything, but I tried. And I enjoyed it and made wonderful friends. And I thank you all for honoring me with this and had a great time and I was exhausted. But it was a wonderful day. Thank you.
Mrs. Rice.
Speaking of MML training, I'll be going next month. I'm very excited. I've done it a few times now and it is very educational. I try to collect and write down as much as I can. I'm excited. I think the last one I went to was downtown Grand Rapids, but this one is on Mackinac Island, so.
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited about doing that. But also, just appreciate everything everyone does to make the city run smoothly and look beautiful. It's a joy to live here. It's a joy to be on the council. I've enjoyed, hearing all the new voices on the council as well. Not afraid to speak up, and it's good discussion. We love that. We really do. So, I think that's all I got.
Mr. Maxon.
Yeah, I think it was a good meeting, good discussion. Obviously we're all representing the community, so, it's always good to hear, the different perspectives on things, and, ultimately, we'll hopefully make the right decisions, that will represent the interests of the residents.
Was excited to take part in Rose Powell Day. Um, I've just, since I've been on the council, I've, loved getting to know you and loved just your personality and how much you love the town. I mean, anybody that knows you can see it, and all the time you put in. And, I got to see, she showed me the gardens and everything. And, I just hope that that butterfly can make it in as a state butterfly pretty soon here.
I got my brooch.
Yeah. And, that day after I, was up front presenting the plaque again to Rose, I had somebody come up to me and he said, Miss Mayor, Mrs. Mayor. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm really enjoying your town. We're staying at the RV park down the road. We're from Texas, but we come up here in the summer. And he says, it's not that far from there to come into town. And there's been so many things for us to do. And he said he's really enjoyed his stuff. And he was at the part of Cedar Park, and he was, at the concert. So he said he was just enjoying himself. So if we can get just one person, bragging about our city, we can get more people to come. So that was a real special highlight of Rose Powell Day. So yes, that was great. So I think that I'm hoping we can honor more people and, just be known as a community that loves our people, that give, and spend their time and make this a better place. So I think that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much, staff, again. And with that, we are adjourned. 8:43.